Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7's brought to you by your nectar prices at Sainsbury's. These days it's hard to find value for money on your weekly shop, right? Well, maybe you're doing it wrong. You need to unlock the magic of your nectar prices at Sainsbury's. Every Friday, you can unlock up to 10 personalised discounts on things you love in the Nectar app. And the best part is that while nectar prices are for everyone, your nectar prices are just for you. So check your Nectar app and unlock your nectar prices to save more now. Enjoy your own personalised discount on things you love with your nectar prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. The offer's for 18 plus, Nectar app required. Unlock up to 10 your nectar prices weekly. Available in supermarkets, online and in locals with Smart Shop. T's and C's apply. Seven things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Sunday 7.
And Ciara Evans in for Jamie East this week. And on today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we go shark fishing off Long Island, find out why Donald Trump is obsessed with Tylenol, and get news on a promising medical breakthrough. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, unpicks the new US TikTok deal and has good news for YouTubers. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started, though, it was on this day in 1858 that the first ever photograph of a comet was taken. An English commercial photographer called William Usherwood managed to capture Donati's comet, which included a spectacular curved tail and 2 thin gas tails. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to post it to Instagram as he was approximately 152 years ahead of his time. US President Donald Trump has made some strange choices when appointing his cabinet for his second term, from friendly billionaires to a former MTV star, Sean Duffy, who is now in charge of transportation and NASA. But one of his oddest choices is to place Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in a position to determine what happens to America's health. RFK Jr. is a genuine eccentric, a vaccine conspiracist, and a man who once tied the head of a whale to his car to transport it home from the beach. His reign as Secretary of State has been difficult, with senior scientists fired or resigning from America's key institutions, and rollbacks on vaccines, including a ban on using the breakthrough mRNA vaccine technology. But this week, RFK Jr. and Trump turned their attention to autism, determined to solve the issue. It's an incredibly complex question, but they settled on an already debunked theory that a drug called acetaminophen is responsible for autism when taken by pregnant women. In the US, it's known as Tylenol, and Monday saw a White House press conference with Donald Trump issuing alarming, non-scientific medical advice.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it.
There was considerable alarm from medical experts about this intervention, and Kate Brintworth, the Chief Midwifery Officer for NHS England, was quick to respond with a message for pregnant mothers.
I want to reassure you, paracetamol is the first choice of painkiller if you're pregnant, and is still considered the safest choice of pain relief during pregnancy. It's commonly taken during pregnancy and does not harm your baby. There's no evidence that taking paracetamol during pregnancy causes autism in children.
Dr. Debra Houry is the former Chief Medical Officer and Deputy Director for Program and Science at America's CDC, and she says she's alarmed at the lack of evidence behind a presidential announcement.
I think, unfortunately, the president is getting his medical advice from Secretary Kennedy, who has said you shouldn't take medical advice from him. You know, I certainly think it's important to look at the causes of autism. There's been some studies about Tylenol that show there might be an association, and there's been some that show that there's not an association. And the most well-done study that looked at genetics and siblings did not show an association.
While there has been an increase in the level of diagnosis of autism, there's no evidence to suggest that there's actually been a significant increase, and no medical study has found evidence of any external factor which is causing it. Dr. Owasi Durrani is an emergency medical physician based in Houston, Texas, and he says this kind of bad medical advice can lead to bad outcomes for patients.
I'm afraid that's going to lead to a lot of confusion for our patients. It's going to lead to patients not taking certain medications like Tylenol when they need to. And it's unfortunately just going to lead to bad patient care in an already highly fragmented and very uncertain healthcare system that we have in the United States.
It's been an extraordinarily busy week in tech this week, with Donald Trump signing off on a deal which will see TikTok split into an American version, with a new court finding against Amazon over its Prime service, and good news for those of us who want to become YouTube influencers. There's only one man we trust to influence us when it comes to the world of tech, and that is the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt. So, Will, Donald Trump signed an executive order on Thursday that will see TikTok continue in the US, but how will it work?
We're all trying to work out exactly what's going on here, and we're slowly getting the detail. But I've got to say, I've got a bad feeling about this. The whole point of apps and services are that they're global, and this makes a new US-only version of TikTok. And if this works for TikTok, I'm sure the US government will be pushing other apps to have US-only versions too. So as part of this deal, a new US business will own 80% of Stars and Stripes TikTok, and the current Chinese owner ByteDance will license all the crucial algorithms and tech at the heart of the TikTok platform. Consider those bits as the Colonel's secret herbs and spices, the magic recipe that makes the newsfeed of TikTok so damn appealing to millions of us. There's around 200 million people in Europe using TikTok on a daily basis, and around 140 million in the USA. Perhaps most intriguingly, at the centre of this, the new version of TikTok is going to be controlled by a 7-member board of experts in cybersecurity. 6 of them are American, and the new version will be owned mostly by the US tech company Oracle, run by a chap called Larry Ellison, and he's recently been having a tussle with Elon Musk as to who is the world's richest person. Larry's business has long been running a lot of the tech that powers TikTok.
What are we going to see in the UK?
This isn't yet apparent. There might not be any change at all. But given ByteDance is going to remain the main controller of the version we'll get here in the UK, you have to wonder whether TikTok US content will still get the same prominence in our feeds here, or whether we're going to start seeing a ton more content approved by Sir Donald. Hopefully the magic algorithm will still ensure we see the content millions of us know and love, and it isn't permanently altered.
The list of investors seems very familiar. Is this basically a scheme for Donald's friends?
Alongside 81-year-old Larry, you've got 94-year-old Rupert Murdoch, and then you've got Michael Dell, a bloke known for selling your workplace the computer that you've got on your desk. He's the young go-getter of this group of investors at 60 years old. As Trump said at the press conference, great investors, the biggest, they don't get bigger. And despite some bumps in the road with Murdoch, these are clearly very trusted partners of the president. And perhaps most troublesome, and the thing that's leaving me with a really bad feeling, a journalist asked Trump if TikTok would become MAGA friendly. Donald said, "I always like MAGA related. If I could, I'd make it 100% MAGA related," but then kind of indicated that the app would continue recommending a wide variety of content, saying every group is going to be treated fairly. But my concern is this really could end up as Truth Talk, a teen-friendly version of Trump's super MAGA Truth.social platform, a fiery outlier in the world of social media to which Donald regularly posts from the White House third-floor toilet.
Speaking of big tech, Amazon Prime had a bruising encounter with Big Law this week. What happened?
At the moment when we all thought the Trump administration was leaning back from telling off big tech, Big Law came back with a belter this week when Amazon agreed to pay $2.5 billion to resolve claims brought by the US government that suggested it tricked millions of Americans into enrolling into Amazon Prime and then intentionally made it difficult to cancel. Around $1.5 billion of this cash goes directly back to consumers, and this is the largest ever civil penalty secured by the Federal Trade Commission. Because this is a settlement, Amazon does not have to admit or deny the suggestion of the government. It just paid a huge sum of money to stop a judge forcing them to answer. In response, Amazon have said they've always followed the law, and the settlement would allow them to move forward, presumably with significantly lighter pockets. Americans currently pay $139 a year for Prime, while we pay £95 a year here in the UK. The FTC had targeted Amazon's practices like pop-ups during checkout. They're repeatedly suggesting signing up to Prime, and then even filling out a form with people's billing information, but not clearly explaining how to cancel it. And the famous 30-day Prime trial got a kicking too, as they clearly didn't tell users, like my 76-year-old dad here in the UK, that they would be automatically enrolled. So Americans are going to get around $50 cash each. This is a US only settlement, but you do have to wonder if a case like this will come to the UK, but perhaps not on a next day delivery.
Ticketmaster were also in hot water this week over Oasis tickets. Is that right?
The UK Competitions and Market Authority have ruled that they'll have to give fans more advanced information about ticket prices after the surge pricing headache used for Oasis's tour. They're going to have to tell fans 24 hours in advance if tiered pricing is being used, and then give more information about ticket prices while you're in the online queue. If you remember back to the Oasis tickets last year, platinum tickets sold for nearly 2.5 times the price they were listed at. The company is also going to have to report back to the CMA over the next 2 years to show how these changes are working for big events. Let's hope this stops the end of surge pricing.
And finally, there was good news this week for every teenager that has a YouTube channel. It turns out it might be a real job after all.
Next time you're about to scream at your kid for making another Minecraft video, I should probably let you know there's now 45,000 people in the UK who make a living from posting YouTube videos, and they're contributing £2.2 billion to the UK economy each year. This is as a new initiative in Parliament seeks to recognise creators and influencers. This new group will talk directly to policymakers in government and will hopefully help creators find access to training, funding and all the right film permits, and even help find them studio spaces. This is great news.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro. Asia struggles with a super typhoon and a big breakthrough on Huntington's disease. This week has seen a super typhoon charge across Asia, hitting Taiwan, Hong Kong and China with winds of up to 165 miles per hour. The storm, which was named Ragasa, killed at least 17 people in Taiwan and injured hundreds and more across Hong Kong and China. A second storm called Baolao is already forming in the Philippines, and the severity of the storms seem to be related to global warming and more frequent extreme weather events. Professor Johnny Chan is an atmospheric scientist at the City University of Hong Kong, and he also contributes to the Asia Pacific Typhoon Collaborative Research Centre. He says the link between climate change and extreme weather is clear.
Because of global warming, you will have more moisture in the atmosphere and water temperature is also high. And once the storm develops, it has more energy. And so you can expect the storm to become even more intense in the future. So you should expect to have more super typhoons, not only to hit the South China coast, but maybe even other parts of Asia.
This week at the UN's General Assembly in New York, Secretary General Antonio Guterres was again warning that time is running out for the nations of the world to have an impact on the looming crisis.
Now we need new plans for 2035 that go much further and much faster, delivering dramatic emissions cuts aligned with 1.5 degrees, covering all emissions and sectors, and accelerating a just energy transition globally.
US President Donald Trump used his address at the UN to dismiss what he called the green energy scam, urging nations to go back to fossil fuels, but his remarks were not well received. In fact, there was a surprising development this week when Chinese Premier Xi Jinping, speaking over video link, told the UN that his country is moving to make dramatic cuts in emissions of up to 10% over the next 10 years.
These targets represent China's best efforts based on the requirements of the Paris Agreement. Meeting these targets requires both painstaking efforts by China itself and a supportive and open international environment. We have the resolve and confidence to deliver on our commitments.
The news that China is finally engaging with climate change was welcomed by experts, but there's concerns that with the US rolling back its commitments, it'll still be very difficult to meet the targets set in Paris. Professor Myles is the head of atmospheric, oceanic and planetary physics at Oxford University, and he told the BBC that it will definitely have some impact.
China's the world's biggest emitter, and until China starts reducing China's emissions, it's very hard to persuade other countries to do the same. And also, crucially, China's got form on, as it were, under-promising and over-delivering. So I think that statement he said, strive to do better, I think was really important. They typically do better than their promises.
There was good news this week about a breakthrough in treatment for a particularly devastating medical condition known as Huntington's disease. The disease, which is genetic, can affect whole families and is described as a combination of dementia, Parkinson's and motor neuron disease in the way that it attacks and kills brain cells. The first symptoms of the disease can appear in your 30s and 40s, and the disease can dramatically shorten lifespans, but the new treatment has been proven to dramatically slow the disease's progress. Professor Sarah Debra is the director of University College London's Huntington's Disease Centre, and she was genuinely delighted at the data on the new treatment.
I am absolutely thrilled and excited that we now have a potential treatment for this truly devastating disorder. And what the data means is that for a person who has Huntington's disease, they will be able to maintain their function longer. They'll be able to stay and work longer. They'll be able to support their families longer. They'll be able to be independent. So it will give them more years of living a good quality of life.
The treatment depends on gene therapy and gene splicing to create a safe virus described as microscopic postman that can deliver a specifically designed piece of DNA deep inside the brain. That DNA will then slow the progress of the toxic Huntington protein. Professor Edward Wild is a consultant neurologist at the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery at the UCLH and part of the research team.
The treatment is a gene therapy, which means that it is a one-shot treatment. Once it's been administered, it doesn't need to be given again, and the treatment remains active for the person's life. It's a 12-hour, roughly, neurosurgical operation. This gene therapy is injected directly into the substance of the brain called the striatum, which is really important for movement and thinking skills, which all are affected by Huntington's disease. So once the gene therapy has been injected into the brain, it contains a virus, a harmless virus, which in turn contains a stretch of DNA that has been specifically designed to accomplish one thing: to tell neurons to make less of the harmful protein that causes Huntington's disease. We're not editing the person's own genome, we're adding an extra little bit of DNA, which essentially reprograms the neurons not to make as much of the protein that is harming them.
Jack May Davies is one of the patients involved in the trial. He's only 30 years of age and a barrister, but his father and grandmother have both suffered from the disease. He's hopeful that the treatment will give him a fighting chance.
It does make the future seem a little bit brighter. It's definitely going to help knowing that I have got more time here than perhaps I first thought.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro. NASA has big plans for the moon, and we drop in on a shark nursery.
Right after this.
Hey, it's Jamie East here from the Smart 7, and today's episode's brought to you by Pension Bee and their award-winning Pension Confident podcast. Getting your head around pensions might seem overwhelming, but that's where Pension Bee comes in. They're on a mission to build pension confidence. So whether you're just starting on your pension journey, you're nearing retirement, or like me, you're somewhere a little bit in between, then you should have a listen to the Pension Confident podcast. It's an award-winning podcast that digs into topics that really matter with the help of financial experts. So that could be the basics of how pensions, ISAs or mortgages work, and things like how to get started on saving for a happy retirement. And a bit like the Smart 7 does with the news, they break down complex pensions finance into language that we can all understand. You can listen or download the Pension Confident podcast wherever you get your podcast from, or you can watch the episodes on YouTube. And remember, anything discussed on the podcast shouldn't be regarded as financial or legal advice, and when investing, your capital is at risk.
Welcome back.
There was a warning this week from the NHS that it's time to get the updated COVID vaccine as a new variant has driven up cases across the country. This version, called Stratus, also known as the XFG strain, and is currently accounting for up to 77% of all cases reported. It includes the usual symptoms, but may also cause a raspy voice. If you think that the days of the pandemic are behind us, don't be so sure. Even as COVID continues to circulate, there are plenty of other diseases that could escalate to pandemic status, with bird flu a long-time concern for global health agencies. Dr. Chris Van Tolken has been busy scouting the world to find out how worried we should be about a new pandemic, particularly as America rolls back vaccine mandates and shelves important research. He's just made a show for the BBC called Disease X, Hunting the New Pandemic, and he explained to the world at One what he discovered.
We're never going to stop outbreaks, those jumps where pathogens enter people. What we can stop is pandemics. And at the moment, through so many different mechanisms, we are eroding our ability to anticipate, prevent and limit the worst effect of the next pandemic. And it's not a possibility, it is a certainty that another pandemic is in the pipeline, and the programme really is about what we can do to mitigate it.
While Elon Musk has been busy obsessing over the potential for life on Mars, governments on Earth are much more focused on the moon. There's been a mini space race in the last few years, with nations including China, India and Japan all focused on moon landings and greater exploration of Earth's nearest neighbour. Now America is back in the conversation with an update from NASA this week on their Artemis program, which is intended to see a fresh moon landing in 2027. This week saw NASA announce that there will be a crewed space flight from the moon next year, with the aim of studying areas of the lunar surface that have not previously been examined in detail. They've announced a crew of 4 under Commander Reed Wiseman.
When we get off the planet, we might come right back home. We might spend 3 or 4 days around Earth. We might go to the moon. That's where we want to go. But it is a test mission, and we are ready for every scenario as we ride this amazing space launch system in the Orion spacecraft. 250,000 miles away. It's going to be amazing.
Christina Gosch is set to be the first woman to land on the moon, and she's part of the crew for the February flight. She spent plenty of time in space, living on the International Space Station for most of 2019 and completing a total of 328 days in orbit. She was also part of the first female spacewalk and is excited about the chance to see the moon up close.
The thing I love about the moon is that it's not just a beacon for exploration and this platform of possibilities for incredible missions like this, but it has benefits. That's actually why we're racing towards it. You have everything from innovation, technology development, not only for future missions going deeper into the solar system, but technologies that come back to Earth. You have industry benefits. We are going with commercial partners, and we are stronger with a strong aerospace industry doing manufacturing here in the country and building up that expertise that actually has a wide range of applications throughout our industrial world. You have inspiration, a whole generation of people starting this pipeline of STEM workers and manufacturers that are excited to see what you can do when you work hard and you come together as a team. And then, of course, the discovery or the science.
This news might not delight you if you're planning a New York-based beach holiday, but scientists have discovered what they believe is a great white shark nursery just off the coast of Long Island in New York. The discovery is documented in a rather brilliantly named new documentary called Baby Sharks in the City, which follows the team from South Fork Natural History Museum's efforts to tag a young great white shark with a special camera. Great white sharks are one of the ocean's apex predators, and the Long Island nursery is unique as the only one of its kind in the Atlantic. Frank Quevedo is an environmental scientist and the executive director of the South Fork Natural History Museum, and he says it's crucial to gather more information on the sharks in order to help with conservation.
What we're seeing now is that the juvenile white shark nursery is starting to shift a little northward because the waters here could be getting a little warmer for them. So when they move further north, there's the concern that they may be preyed upon by larger adult sharks that will eat their same species if they interact with one another.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
Trimble knows that in the industries we all depend on, where speed counts, every turn matters. Trimble is the technology company that connects your physical and digital worlds, so you can see what's coming, take intelligent action, and get hard work done faster than you ever thought possible. Check them out at Trimble.com. Ready to turn data points into decision points? Turn deadlines into finish lines? And turn possibilities into profits? Then turn to Trimble. Trimble. Confidence at every turn.